Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're excited to be with our good friend, David Jordan, President and CEO of Agape Child and Family Services. How are you doing?
I am well, Jeremy. Thank you. It's a good day. I appreciate you. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. Well, you all are doing tremendous good. We have a lot to talk about, not only with the programs and the impact for Agape Child and Family Services, but also a whole conversation around a Hope Summit and the science of hope. And so let's go ahead and start with Agape Child and Family Services. Give us some background there on the nonprofit, and we'll dive in.
Yeah. So Agape is a faith-based nonprofit, 54 years old this year. I've been the CEO, Jeremy, actually this month, 30 years. And so I am very thankful for that. To God be the glory. Agape is a organization that we fight poverty through God for families to flourish. So everything that we're about, we come alongside neighbors in communities. We are deep in Fraser, Whitehaven, Hickory Hill, now Raleigh. We've been asked to come to Orange Mound, asked to come to South Memphis and North Memphis. So as provision is provided, we don't do this alone. We do it with many, many collaborative partners. We do it in schools. We do it with churches. I have staff embedded in both places where families live, as you know, in apartments and the alike. And so it's a holistic wraparound poverty fighting. The model's called 2-generation. We serve both generations, both parent and child or children. So it's the whole family, staff embedded in those neighborhoods. It's relationally based. We use what's called evidence-based, evidence-informed practices. It's not our best idea of the day. Evidence shows that you do these to fidelity, this works. And so what we have seen is nearly a third of the families that we work with increase their income, being able to move out of poverty, having jobs of $18 and $20 an hour and more. Doesn't mean the work's over, but making great progress. We've seen 95% of our kids who are high school students were embedded in 17 schools, kindergarten and 12th grade. 95% graduate from high school going then to their pathway of what's next, 2-year, 4-year, or certifications around employment. So we, in terms of just faith and what that means and hope, just expanding. And so a lot of good news, a lot of work to be done in our city. And we're very thankful to be a partner, and especially a partner with City Current.
Well, you all, the thing that I really appreciate is you're innovative, you're collaborative. And just like you mentioned, you go to the individuals where they need the help and the support. So you're not asking them to come to you necessarily. You're saying, hey, we're going to go into the apartment. We're going to go into the school. We're going to knock down the barrier of transportation and geography. And we're going to go in and take, just like you said, a very holistic approach to being the support network and bringing in all these resources. But you also, too, you listen, you get the feedback from them on what they need, and you bring those to bear. You're not directing it necessarily. So give a little bit more of an illustration around this very unique model that you use.
Yeah, that's a great point. I always love your memory. I mean, you can tell our story better than anybody. So I love that. So hearing the voice of our families is not only critical, it's paramount. And so you're right. We ask families, what's working, what's not working? And we've been doing that now over 16 years in the neighborhoods, in the communities. And what families say are not unusual for any other family in community. I don't feel safe. It may be because of crime in my neighborhood at the apartment. And so I want to feel a more sense of safety because it's breaking down community. I want my kids to go to a great school. I want them to be in a building that's great, as well as the education they receive to be excellent. So for their very best. I want a job. I want a job that really is meaningful. It gives me, purpose, as well as gives me income to be able to serve and care for my family. I want to help my family inside the walls. And so there are life matters going on, relational and otherwise, and having support there. And then ultimately, what our families have said over and over is, I want a sense of hope. Do I have any hope that things will be better if this has been generational in our family, or is it hopeless? And so we have lots of questions and lots of conversations. And you're right, that drives our behavior based on what our families say they need. That those are the kind of programs we bring in. When I'm with the city council, the county commission, when I'm in Nashville legislators, I'm not telling them the things I think most important. I'm telling them, here's what our families say. And so that voice is critical. And then we use what's called a no wrong door. And so families come to us by their own choice and volition. We serve over 3,000 individuals and families in neighborhoods right now, trying to scale to 10,000 or more. And so families come and say, hey, David, can you help me with a job? That's where we start. Hey, can you pray for me? That's where we start. Hey, can you help my kids in school? That's where we start. And so we begin at that place. And then as we develop the relationship, we say, what else? What else for your family? And so what we find is that expands most often with families based on their perceived needs, what's going on, their own voice of what was most helpful, using evidence-based practices. And then we have a whole data team that says, okay, are we moving the needle? And so we continue to see the answer is yes, and we've got to do more.
So that theme of hope, we'll come back to in one more second. I've got a couple more questions. One is, talk about your team and also volunteers, the important role that they play too, because on both sides, when you talk about scaling to reaching 10,000, your team plays a very important role, and so do volunteers.
Yeah, that's a great point. So just the human capital of what it takes. And so we have over 110 staff right now. We're growing as well. A large number of our staff we call connectors. And so they're full-time staff, and they're connecting. They connect relationally. So first and foremost, it's relational, and they connect with the resources that we bring, and they connect around what are families saying they need to be connected to. And so bridging and knocking, as you said, knocking down the barriers, and then bridging to the other side of here's where I'm trying to get to. So the staff are critical. They're embedded in the communities. And so I've got staff embedded in churches, have staff embedded in 17 schools, have staff embedded in apartments and where families live. And so we're right there in the neighborhoods, a part of the neighborhoods with many other partners. We have 150 plus partners. That's another human resource in what's coming to the table, how we weave that together. Some would call us a backbone organization that we are kind of giving the structure to be able to serve with many other nonprofits toward a common goal for family's sake. As you mentioned, just also the volunteers. And so having people would say, man, where can I help? Where can I jump in? Can I help around education and coming into schools? The answer is yes. Can I help around jobs and employment? And man, we need employers. The answer is yes. Can I help around just early childhood and kids being ready for school to kindergarten? The answer is yes. Can I help you in a church and be able to help in that kind of setting? Yes. And so the probably as many ideas you come up with of, man, I've got this gift and ability, might that be able to be used and served? Generally, it's yes. If not, it's with one of our partners. And so we are holistic. We're really trying to break down the silos of organizations, not working with each other, have a lot of great partnerships. And again, in the very essence of it is being partners with our families in the neighborhood.
So one last question, then we'll switch over and talk about the science of hope.
Yeah.
Give me one more thing that you wish everyone knew, and this can be around transitional housing. It can be around the family counseling and those support networks and services. But give us one more thing that you wish everyone knew about Agape Child and Family Services in terms of what you do and the impact you're having.
Some would say, aren't y'all the foster care and adoption people? And isn't that who you are? That's what I remember. Well, first 25 years, the answer is you're exactly right. For the last 20 plus years, yes, we still do some foster care and adoption, but we've gone down deep into the roots of what are some of the causal factors? What are some of the root issues? Why did those kids come into foster care? Why? And so it's nothing against foster care, nor is it that we're not doing it, but we've said, let's go and let's get deeper. And so that's what has led us into doing the poverty fighting work. So some folks will say, wow, how'd y'all even get there? Have y'all changed that? The mission is still the same, but how we are doing the mission, the programs of work is very different because we're saying, can we go upstream? Can we get to kids and families so they don't have to go into, say, foster care? And then we're looking at all kind of other systems. And so around, okay, what else do the families say they need? And just everything I said a moment ago, we need help in schools. So we're embedded in schools. Families said we need help around our own employment. We got a team work deeply with the chamber and the workforce board and that whole ecosystem. Matters around kids being ready for kindergarten. You mentioned mental health, just the trauma families experience most often in communities in their own life. And so we We have mental health teams. We have a housing program for families that have fled domestic violence. And so providing, you mentioned transitional housing and wrapping around. We've got a partnership with Mayor Young that we're just about to kick off around kids who are in Memphis, Shelby County schools who are homeless. There are over 3,000 homeless students in our Memphis, Shelby County schools. And so we, with partners, will be able to provide transitional housing and wraparound support to those families. And so it is this holistic wraparound. So that's one thing with lots of answers to it.
Well, like I said, you're doing a lot, and it's a lot of good, including the science of hope and being a hope-centered city, which is a huge undertaking on your end as well that you're leading and spearheading. And so let's go ahead and dive in. You've mentioned hope throughout, tied to especially the work that you do with the families. Carry that forward into the background for what led you to be focused on this new direction of the science of hope.
Yeah. And so you did hear. So families asked basically the question back years ago, and it's continued. Do I have anything I can hope for? Is there anything for myself, for my kids, my family, this community? Is there hope for me? And so that has been a theme for Agape because it's been a theme for our families over and over. So we got connected to the University of Oklahoma 2, 3, 4 years ago around this science of hope. And it sounds a little like an oxymoron, but the science of hope. And so there's 2,500 plus bodies of research, and we'd all say, yeah, that's true. But 2,500 plus bodies of research saying the more hopeful you are, the more likely you're to do well in school. You're to get that job, to be well in the job. You, in terms of your mental health, public safety, just basically all manners. The more hope you have, the more likely. The less hope, the far less likely. And Dr. Chan Hellman, who's leading this, we're bringing to Memphis. Agape has embraced this science of hope. We're using it for all the families we work with. So we've been doing it for now 2 years. It didn't change our program, our modeling, but asking families on the front end, do you have a goal? Do you have a pathway to get to that goal? If not, do you need help doing that? And even with that, do you have the willpower, the oomph to stay at it long enough to meet that goal? And the more you do that and get yes, your hope, and it's not wishful thinking, it actually is, I am meeting goals, and my level of hope is going up so I can go to the next thing. And so in one sense, it's pretty simple, but it's very intentional, and you have to be very collaborative around that. And so for families we work with, over half of our adults have higher levels of hope, and those with higher levels of hope now have met their goals even more likely. 65% plus of our youth, same, higher level of hope, and with it, they have done better in school. They're doing better in terms of workforce kind of pathways. And so Dr. Hellman, who's with the, again, University of Oklahoma, Science of Hope, he and I have gotten to know each other, and I've talked about, okay, that's at the individual family level. I know the state of Oklahoma has adopted this. Tell me about this. And he said, yeah, Governor Stitt has adopted this. He's brought it in for the whole state of Oklahoma. He did it in their Tennessee Department of Human Services. Not only is hope for the person you might come alongside, the participant, but the very person that is giving the support, whether you're a social worker or you're an employee or whatever that might be. Well, the higher level of hope for an Oklahoma Department of Children's Services led to they had less staff leave because they had higher level of hope. Because of that, they had savings of millions of dollars by not having turnover with staff. That just being one kind of staff. And so we began leaning into, and I said, what might that look like for Memphis? And he said, that's called collective hope. And so having a collective hope for the city or their county. And we've done it. They've done it in several states, but we've never done it in a city quite like Memphis. And he said, but I'd love to do that. I said, well, I would too. So I met with Mayor Young back in March of this year and presented this idea to Mayor. And I said, I've heard you talk about changing the narrative, because it really is about culture and the narrative and the language and having commonness in that. And I said, we don't want to be known as fill in the blank of Memphis, but what if we were known as the City of Hope? And Mayor said, I'm interested. He had several questions. We came back and met again in April and then presented that to him. He said, David, what are you asking me for? Are you asking me to just kind of stamp this and say, yeah, that sounds great? And I said, no, Mayor. Would you and other leaders, but especially would you give leadership to this? Agape will be glad to be a right arm to you. There's left arms out there, all kind of others that'll come alongside. And he said yes. And I met with Mayor Harris shortly thereafter. Same question. And on the spot, Mayor Harris said, I am in. I'll be glad to lead this with Mayor Young. And so now Ted with the Chamber of Commerce. And I've got about 30 organizations, faith, corporate, philanthropic, nonprofits, Tamika United Way, who have said, yes, we're going to be a part of this and be early leaders. And so we have a luncheon coming up where we're going to present this, all leading up to a November 13th Hope Summit. It'll be an all-day. Dr. Chan Hellman, we plan, and Mayor Young, Mayor Harris, other key leaders. We'll have a Memphis panel that will talk about this, of what does it look like to have a collective hope for our city, not just as an idea, not just as even a tagline, but in terms of implementation. And so we're training hope navigators. These are the executioners. These are the ones that are implementing and doing the work. And so being in different neighborhoods and communities. We're really excited about this possibility. We want to invite anybody and everybody to be a part, because everyone can and should have a part of changing our narrative, having a common language, a goal together, really changing the culture of how we view our city, and then implementing that on the ground with many parts. This is much, much bigger than Agape. It's not an Agape kind of, this is a Memphis Shelby County matter.
So for those who say, this is awesome, I'm all in, I want to learn more, I want to go to the Hope Summit, walk us through how that takes place. Where do we go? How do we sign up? How do we get involved?
Yeah. So you can go to our website, agapemeanslove.org. And so that's just one landing place to be able to do that. There's also a group called Hope Rising, and they're in Oklahoma, and they're giving leadership in terms of supporting this event. But go ahead and mark your calendar for Thursday, November 13th. We'll be at University of Memphis, and we will have 400, 500 people there. You'll be able, again, to register to attend. There's no cost to going. And this is where we will launch. This is where you'll hear more about it. Dr. Hellman will talk about, so what exactly is this? What does that mean at an individual level? What does it mean at a family level? What does it mean at a collective hope communal level? We'll have First Lady Stitt from Oklahoma who will be with us. And she is a huge advocate, and she's been talking about this, and so she's excited about coming. We might even have the governor here. And so we've got a range of folks that are, and we hope will be here to be a part. And so you can go, and you'll be seeing more information as well in terms of just how to register.
Give us your thoughts on what this could do for Memphis and our future.
Some would talk about, remember in New York when they started I Love New York, and it was kind of a simple logo, and it was a simple idea, and that just took off. It changed the way that people themselves, New Yorkers, and then across the world viewed New York. They still have things to fight and deal with, and all, but how we think about ourselves, how we talk about ourselves, and then how we enact on that is game changing. And so I really am hopeful, in the sense of not wishful, but in anticipation, expectation that this could have significant impact, along with lots of other work going on. It's not saying taking over what you're doing. It's integrating this together for a common language, theme, culture within our city. So I believe this is something of a city that really is a city that has been built on hope. I mean, through the blues, the possibility to anticipate with the hardness, and through the hardness, still having hope. And Martin Luther King spoke hugely about this, and so again, the themes for Memphis especially, I think goes beyond, but especially Memphis, I think this is dead center. It's paramount, and I believe it's something that if we embrace it together, really could give pathway for us.
I agree. And City Current, we're proud and honored to be a part of it as well. So wrap up again with contact information. So website, where do we go to learn more about Agape Child and Family Services, about the Hope Summit? So where do we go to learn more?
So Agape Child and Family Services, nonprofit, David Jordan. Our website is Agape, AGAPE, meanslove.org, agapemeanslove.org. So you can go to our website to learn about Agape, also learn about the Science of Hope and the Hope Summit on November 13th. You can also call us at 901-323-3600.
Well, David, greatly appreciate all you and your amazing team are doing to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.